contractor. He also taught apprenticeship. And in doing that, he got my uncles rather, to become electricians. And my boyfriend, who had a degree in philosophy, which Dad said wasn't going to earn him diddly squat, he became an electrician too. And between the two of them, they decided that when we got married, instead of a honeymoon, I would get a tool belt. And I did. And I went to work Monday morning as an electrician.
Wow.
And it was awesome. And this is back in the late 70s. There were not very many women around. There was a lot of pressure on for all of us to do well. And eventually I started teaching apprenticeship. And because I was teaching apprenticeship, I needed to really know the code. And so to that end, I joined this amazing organization called IAEI and learned more than I ever thought I could about the code, so that I could in turn teach and help mentor others with the code. And that in turn led me to getting hired by Intertech after 20 years of being an electrician, starting out with follow-up services, where I learned all about the nerdle side, the follow-up inspection side, and standards. And then I became a field evaluator. And because of my background in teaching, I also am a codes and standards trainer, both for our own company and external clients.
Wow.
My story in a nutshell.
That in a nutshell. This is me in a nutshell. That's pretty cool. Wow, that's that must, if you think about when you started into the trades, you may have been like the only woman on some of those jobs. No?
Yes.
It's a big difference from today, isn't it?
Very much so. Very much so. Although we're still not, as far as the gender goes, not all that populous on job site, but there's plenty, and in a mix of trades, not just our beloved electrical.
Yeah, that's a good point. And your point about joining the IAEI and getting engaged to understand the code. I have I'm an electrical engineer, and even when I started with Eaton, I mean, before I started with Eaton, I was with a consulting firm, and I worked on various projects and whatnot. And the code wasn't something that I really dug into, but something that was very scary, right? Because I mean, I had to do conductor sizing, I had to do certain things, and I relied on my mentors a lot, other engineers, my PEs that I worked under at the time, and I would be told, and I know you and I have had this discussion because you're an Opacity guru, and and I've been told, I would look at that table in 310, and I would say, okay, I have to use this column. It's a 90-degree insulation. I'd look at the tag on the conductor, and I would follow that column down. I'd say, okay, this is the Opacity. And my mentor I was working on, he'd say, no, you have to use a 75-degree C column. And I would look and I'd go, well, the insulation's not under that. But it wasn't until many years later that I really understood the relationship between 310 and then in 110, and those two.
Termination.
Yeah, and the termination limitations. And so, and I know you and I have had that discussion, and that journey still continues. But when I got engaged with the International Association of Electrical Inspectors, I think I went to a section meeting first when I moved into a different role in residential product, and it's not only listening and talking to the people in those meetings, but it's the relationships. It's people like you that we can call, and you can say, hey, I feel comfortable calling you. I feel comfortable calling other people that I've met and engaged with, and they welcome, those questions, as long as they're not on a ship, right?
Right. Yeah, you're always scheduling meetings when I'm on a Navy base.
I know. Gee. But that's okay. I'm sorry. But yeah, and it's the relationships that really helped me over the years, because I'm not the sharpest spoon in the drawer, and I got to keep asking the same questions.
No. I beg to differ. I've learned a lot from you. Don't
I
sell
appreciate
yourself
it.
short there.
I appreciate
One
it.
of the things that, relationships, I'm here in Bakersfield, California for my field evaluation. I got to have dinner last night with Pete Jackson, who's Chief Electrical Inspector for the city of Bakersfield, because of IAEI. of knowing him through IAEI as well as NFPA, working on code panels. And then you may remember this gentleman, the electrical inspector for the area that I was in, it's out in the county, not in the city, came by because he heard there was a field evaluation going on and wanted to participate and watch. And his name was Gene Worthing. And it didn't quite, I went, oh. And he said, my father was in the industry. And I said, with NEMA? And he said, yes, he was the Western NEMA rep that I used to know a long time ago, the one with the most melodic voice you've ever heard. So it's a small world in our industry where you can travel across the country and run across people you know or that are relatives of who you know.
Yeah.
That's just amazing to me.
Yeah, that's really cool. In fact, I was just doing we did one of these because Joe Andre, who used to be the Western, was it the way he was? Yep, he was the Western NEMA rep as well a while ago, and so he's doing a program on transformer protection. So, right. And you know what I did to him? What I did to you? I scheduled him for a 10 a.m. session. He's like, I got to get up. You're 3 hours behind that. So.
Joe doesn't do mornings.
I know. Well, I told him this is a test.
I actually had dinner with Joe over the weekend. We both live in the same area.
Excellent.
And Rhonda Parkhurst was up. Another IAEI connection.
That's exactly right. Yeah. It's good stuff. So your program on field evaluations. So I know my experience with a field evaluation has always been when I modify, like in some cases, our own guys will modify a piece of equipment that's left our factory. It's installed. Either we're cutting things out or whatnot. And then the electrical inspector says, whoa, I don't feel comfortable. I want a field evaluation. Is that primarily is that the primary reason you go out to see field evaluations, or are there other reasons?
There's other reasons, not just modified, but there's a lot of equipment that comes over from Europe that only has the CE mark. And the major problem or difficulty with the CE mark is that mark itself doesn't tell me anything about the product. It could be just a trade agreement. It could be that it complies with 6 or 7 different EN standards, or maybe a couple of IEC harmonized standards, or nothing. I don't know until I see the documentation. And then even then, I run into the difficulty of that have been a one-time inspection 10, 15 years ago. Are they still making the product exactly the same way, with the same materials, with the same testing? So it's not like our system where I have a really good, solid traceability of that product. We don't have that with the CE system. So you have to, in essence, look at it as if it's totally unlisted.
Wow.
Which that also comes up. We have a lot of equipment made in America that, for whatever reason, is not listed.
Yeah. And then you've got to go back to the standard.
Yeah.
And you, I mean, when you don't have a listed product, there's no destructive tests, right? So you've got your hands full.
Well, it's supposed to work when I leave, so I can't really blow it up.
Yeah. Yeah, that would.
That's not a good thing.
Yeah, that's.
Now, look at the test though on the UL standards. They're looking to see how the product will fail, because we want to ensure that it's not a fire hazard. So we want to enclose all of the live parts. And so what's the strength and durability and feasibility of that enclosure? What kind of holes are in that enclosure? Could I reach live parts? Is there adequate ventilation? What's the temperature rise in that enclosure? Am I going to melt something? And is that melting of something going to cause more damage? And then how do I decrease the temperature in there? How do I ensure that the wires don't lose their insulation and cause a shock hazard. Heat
Wow.
would be the main reason within a component, within a product.
Excellent.
Because it's normally your switchboard is enclosed, right?
Right.
And I don't have people every day practicing their golf swing inside your switchboard.
No, that's just saying.
So the wires are in there fairly static. They're going to move, right? With energizing, de-energizing, or if I'm in an earthquake area. But that movement, we can tolerate some. But how much? How secure is that wire? Where does all that heat go? How much of that insulation am I going to degrade? I don't know if you ever have seen old fused panels or old circuit breaker panels that had every circuit on, like at your house where there was 2 circuits. And we started off with 40-watt light bulbs, but that, of course, I can't see a thing with the 40-watt light bulbs, so I go to the store, buy the 60, and I got a little older, so then I got the 75-watt, and then the 100-watt. You know, now I'm looking for the 250-watt heat lamp, trying to get enough light to see, right?
Right.
Well, that wire in the panel starts turning colors and starts getting brittle and stiff. I don't know if you've ever seen
I have seen
evidence of this. That's what you look for on old equipment. That's another thing that we do oftentimes. You've got this whole factory of stuff that was built in the 30s, the 40s. It's very heavy duty and very mechanical, not much electrical components, no PLCs, nothing of what we got nowadays. But is that still safe? Is that product, does it have the safety features that we now have? Does it have emergency stops? Does it have pinch point warnings or guards to prevent you from sticking your fingers where they shouldn't?
Yeah.
It's certainly, you're not going to have any kind of schematic on something that old. What do you do about manuals, instructions? So you're looking for all kinds of things.
That's a lot on your shoulders from an inspection perspective to think about. You take a product that's not listed, especially if it's not listed. It's one thing to take a listed product and modify it, because at least you know a set of eyes were on it. But you take a piece of equipment that came from overseas, listed to IEC standards, or like you said, looked at once in its lifetime, or an unlisted product. That's a lot to be to think about on your shoulders. Yeah.
It depends too upon the product. It could be something as simple as a luminaire, an LED luminaire that's got a listed driver, but the assembly wasn't looked at.
Right.
So I can sleep at night, much more easily than this major printing press or graphic arts machine, or in production lines that's building something like SIPS panels or something where I've got robots swinging saw blades around like crazy.
Well, that's another, when and probably because I'm an electrical equipment manufacturer, but when I think of field evaluations, I'm picturing big gray boxes getting looked at. But you just raised a good thing or a good question or a point that you could be looking at end use equipment or printing presses and things of that nature. Never thought about that.
That's, in fact, most of my stuff is along that line. It's involved with building of products, production lines that start with hoppers and mix and mold and bake and cut and saw and finally package. There's a lot of factory work.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. And ship work too, right?
No, it's the shipyard that I'm at, actually, not on the ship.
Okay. That's pretty good. So your session at the Western section, which is going to be an online, September 22nd, 10 a.m., which I'm telling everybody, click the links down below because I want you got to register it. If you register just for Christine's presentation, I think we're charging $25, and if you're an IAEI member, we're giving you $10 off, so you're only paying $15, 2 hours of CEU credits. Yeah, that's so inexpensive. And then if you do the whole week, we're doing $200 for the whole week, and the whole week is 18 CEU credits. And if you're an IAEI member, you get 50% discount. So it's
another advantage.
Absolutely an IAEI advantage. But so your program, you're going to go through some actual field evaluations, or?
Yeah, I'm going to take you on not just a single one, but because I'll pull elements of various different inspections, just so that you get the flavor of what actually somebody that's doing one should be doing, including the report, because the actual field evaluation is only half of it. Putting a label on something is nothing without a written report.
Okay.
You don't have a report. You don't know what standard I used and what all I looked at, what I included, what I didn't include, any conditions that I had, any variances that were fixed. There's a lot of information in a report.
Yeah.
And those of us that do it, we all generally follow the guidelines of a document from NFPA called NFPA 791. It's a recommended practices for field evaluation. I recommend that AHJs across the country go to nfpa.org and look at it online. You can view any of the standards for free and look at Chapter 5 especially. And then Chapter 6 and 7 too. That will tell you what you should get from your FEB, which is Field Evaluation Body. And you'll notice in the NEC, we're talking a lot more about field evaluation.
Excellent. So that's NFPA 791, you said, right? 791?
Right. That is the recommended practices for conduct of field evaluations. There you go. That is it.
Perfect. And then, so for you had mentioned something which I think is important. You can actually see this. You do a free access.
Yep.
And then you can pick the version 2021. So, oh wow, 2021.
Brand new.
Hot off the presses. So you can hit view, and I believe you might have to log in. I think I'm already logged in, but which will be a free login. But there it is. And you said Chapter 5?
Uh-huh.
Construction inspection. There it is.
So it's going through, not per the way in the order of the standard that you're going to use, but an evaluation should include each of those items.
Nice.
So if you see somebody licking and sticking, as we say, you can ask them about, well, what about Chapter 5? Can you show me how you complied with Chapter 5?
Nice. Well, that's pretty good. That's pretty cool. That's good to know. I didn't even, I wasn't aware of this document. And this is called Recommended Practice and Procedures for Unlabeled Electrical Equipment Evaluation. I like it.
So it's the recommended practice because they are so different. You can't have a standard. The companion document to that is 790, which is a standard, and that's for field evaluation bodies. Who should be doing your field evaluation? Am I operating out of the trunk of my car? Or do I actually have some wherewithal and proper third-party independence, the wherewithal to buy the right standards, the technical knowledge to know what standard to use? And that's actually one of the hardest parts of a field evaluation, is knowing which standard to use. Part of the reason for why these two documents were created is that a lot of people were evaluating equipment, but they were using either UL 508A, which is a standard for industrial control panels, and it's just the panel itself, nothing beyond it. Or they were using NFPA 79, the standard for industrial machinery, and they were applying it to everything from shoe warmers to luminaires to whatever. And so ACES, a group of testing labs, got together and put together a basis and took that basis to NFPA, who then developed the standard. I think one of your presenters was chair of 790 and 791 in their inception.
Oh,
Tim
really?
McClintock.
Wait, who was that?
Tim McClintock.
Oh, Tim McClintock. Yeah, He's going to be presenting, and he is our, what do they call that? The code panel. Oh, what's the guy who stands up there and he just gives everybody their questions? The
moderator?
Moderator. Thank you. Yeah, he's our moderator. Tim's a good guy. He now works for NEMA, but he worked for NFPA. He was chief electrical inspector. So, Christine, we have such a good lineup for the Western Section meeting. And I love meeting everybody in person, but between you and Joe and Dan Neeser, we got Tom Lichtenstein on Friday morning. We got a lot of great Chad Kennedy on Monday talking service entrance equipment. We're going to have a good lineup. So, and what's cool is once we video this, and I'm going to have to, we'll have to talk offline a little bit too to find out if we can share any of your material online to the YouTubes, because what we're going to do is we're going to probably strategically pick a few presentations and put them out there online, not for CEU credits, but just to let people understand the quality of the content and the presenters, because a slide is a slide is a slide, and it's what's behind that slide and people like you and myself and others who bring a lot of real world practical experience to the content. So we're going to try to share that because, hopefully in the future, we know we're going to be able to do in-person section meetings, and
knock on wood.
I'm telling you, I mean, I would have never have thought that our January meetings are going to be not in Hilton Head, but it'd be online. I never would have thought that.
Yeah. Nope.
So Ryan Jackson is online. He says 2 of his favorite people. Awesome.
Hey, Ryan.
Thanks for joining us, Ryan. And Steve Froming says to ask you to watch for Ghost. He said you'll know what that means, but I don't know.
I do.
So
See, at these various IAEI meetings, he always finds a ghost tour for us to go on.
Is that
and
right?
A group of us go on ghost tours everywhere, whether it's code panel or IAEI.
Well, I you know what? You got to throw me in there. I mean, I'm a faithful watcher of Ghost Adventures and Ghost Hunters and all that good stuff. I love that stuff. So you got to let me know.
Well, Steve's your man.
He'll
hook you up.
When we were in Savannah, Georgia for the Southern Section meeting, Bobby Joe, my wife, flew down at the tail end of that meeting, and we spent 3 days, and we went on a ghost tour of bars. And I'll tell you what, Christine, by the last bar, I was seeing stuff that wasn't there. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. But
I love Savannah. The Southern Section was going to be back in Savannah.
Yep.
And it was going to be at the DeSoto Hotel, which is right across the street from my sister's house. And so I was going to be presenter there and visit with my sister. It was going to be awesome.
Man, well, yeah.
I'm just going to take a vacation instead.
There you go. Yeah. Tell you, there's a lot. This whole COVID thing has really driven. It's a lot of change in our industry and worldwide. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah,
absolutely amazing. So, but okay. So your program is going to be. Your program is. Let me just get rid of this.
Field evaluation, a case study.
Oh,
there we go.
2 hours of pure fun. From 10 a.m. Eastern, and everybody makes fun of me because in the Western Section, most of the people are either on Mountain Time or Central, right?
Right.
So I get made fun of. They keep saying, "Who talks in Eastern Time?" And the Western Section, I understand. So, but
well, I just look at it that I'm lucky that I'm not in Hawaii, because that's even further.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Wait a second. Hold on.
Or Anchorage.
I don't know of anybody who says that you're lucky you're not in Hawaii. Okay. I mean, I think I would rather be in Hawaii right now.
Yeah, but you're 6 hours or 7, depending upon.
I think if I was in Hawaii, I would say, hey, Western Section, go find somebody else to do this.
There you go.
Easy answer, right? Easy answer.
Right.
Yep. So if somebody comes to your program and watches this and you go through some examples, they will probably walk away with a better of an understanding of when they need to call for a field evaluation, right?
Hopefully. Unfortunately, I can't give you a call
Right.
anytime this happens. They're unique and different, and it depends upon, if you're an AHJ, your comfort level. How much can you judge? For example, on a control panel, we have Article 409 as a guideline of the NEC, right?
Yep.
Some inspectors would rather have them field evaluated. That's fine. Obviously, I'm happy about that, but it's still a case of outside of their comfort zone. Some people modify your gear. How did they modify it? Did they reduce clearance and spacing? And does the inspector understand what they did enough to know that it still meets 891 or 67, depending upon which product you're talking about?
Yeah, and there's a liability thing there too. I mean, that's why they have that comfort feeling. It's like if they miss something and the product fails in the field, then it's back on their shoulders. So
Yeah.
And you put a sticker on things. I mean, obviously, you said
Yes,
you put a
I do.
report and you put a sticker on it in the field. You don't
Right.
you don't ship that sticker out for somebody else to lick it and stick it.
Oh, no, no, no. In fact, all of the NERDL marks, the nationally recognized testing laboratory marks for listing, have to be done at wherever we've authorized the client to do it. They're factories, not in the
Right.
field ever. If it left the factory without the mark on it that it should have had, then they call for a field verification where we determine if it still meets the listing report that you have.
Ah, I didn't
And
know.
we then authorize, the FEB authorizes the installation of the listing mark,
Okay.
not the field evaluation. Now, if there's no report, then we'd have to do a full-on field evaluation, and now it's to the standard instead of to the listing report.
Gotcha. So you you made a so NERDL, nationally recognized testing laboratory. That
Mm-hmm.
is OSHA governs that, right?
Yes, it does.
Do all NERDLs do field evaluations?
Yes, they do, but you do not have to be a NERDL to be a field evaluation body.
I didn't know that. I did not know that.
You could be one.
Oh, you don't want me to be one.
Well, you would then take the liability,
Ah, okay. I see. I see.
but you would have to have the technical know-how. You would have to have access to the standard. You would have to be impartial, so you could not evaluate anything by Bussman or Eaton
Gotcha.
because that's
Right.
who you are, right?
Right.
You'd have to get control of your labels, all the things that almost that a NERDL does.
That's interesting.
It's
See,
just that we're not, a field evaluation body is not governed or regulated by OSHA.
I did not know that. See, I thought only a nerd. In fact, I've even told people that, which is wrong. That I thought a
Oh,
nerdle had to do a field evaluation, but it can be anybody that like you said, accepts that responsibility and has their own stickers. So will have their name on it, and they'd have to do
it's
the report.
anybody that's acceptable to the AHJ.
Ah, okay. Okay.
So, for example, Washington State maintains a list of field evaluation bodies. LA County and City of LA do as well.
Interesting.
Most other areas of the country will, without question, accept a NERDL mark, field evaluation mark, not their listing mark, but the field evaluation mark. They may or may not accept an engineering firm doing this.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
And it just depends upon how you sell them.
I never knew that. See, I learned something, and this is before the Western section meeting. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Take this, marry this, marry this discussion with the with your program, and it's like Paul Harvey, the rest of the story. I like it.
Good one. Yeah, I do too.
I like it.
Up
I
for
like
it.
it. Cool beans. So cool beans. Well, okay. So I appreciate you. I appreciate your time tonight. And again, this is hopefully we're going to get more and more people to register for our. And this is only a couple weeks away. So September 22nd is your program. Western section starts on the 21st. We'll take registrations up till 10 a.m. on the 21st. Ryan Jackson just sent a note. The NEC style manual prohibits the use of NRTL, NERDL, and requires instead a qualified testing laboratory, which is to our
Because
point.
it doesn't have to be a NERDL.
Yeah.
That's what an FEB. If you look at 790, and OSHA doesn't certify FEBs at all.
Oh wow. FEB is field evaluation body, and that's defined.
Yep.
That's now in the National Electrical Code.
Yes, it is.
I think that was 2 cycles ago, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
The first issue of 790 and 791, it went into the NEC.
Okay. You know what? Okay, so that was the rest of the story, because I wasn't aware that 790 and 791 hit the streets. And that now explains why you have the field evaluation body was put in there. There were a couple other terms that were also put in the definitions.
Field labeled.
That's
and field evaluation, I think, are in there.
Yes. Yep. Oh, that's perfect. And I remember at the Western section they had which reminds me. So another part of our program next week, we're going to have the scheduled programs, which you're aware of and you're a part of. Thank you very much. We're also going to do vendor opportunities at lunch. If Intertech is interested in purchasing a slot, we're going to do from 12:30 to 1:30. 4 15-minute sessions where we could do a Q&A like this or a presentation. So you could do a presentation on Intertech. It could be purely hey, here's what it's like we're calling it a virtual booth. So
okay.
So we're doing that at lunch every day next week. And also we're doing an R&R ranch in the evening. So
oh man.
Yeah, so we're doing a virtual R&R ranch. We can't I can't put out the bourbon and the whiskey and all that other good stuff out there, but we're going to do and it's going to be an open session. So I think Larry Ayer is going to talk about the National Electrical Code 2023 and moving forward Monday night. And then Tuesday night and Thursday night, I was talking to Steve Froming, and we're going to have programs then too. But if you're interested in maybe after your presentation on the 22nd in the evening, coming online with us and talking a little bit more and taking questions, be more than happy to bring you into the R&R Ranch. So just let me know if you're interested in that. And those
I
are going
will. I have to check my schedule and see if I'm back at work or not.
Yeah.
Because my session's at the ODARC 100 for me.
Oh, okay, yeah, because that'll be 6:00 Eastern time, which is 3:00 your time, right? So
right. So I may still be on a job site.
Yep. Well, but if you can, that would be great. So we're going to try to do those evening sessions, and those are going to be broadcasted on the Western Section YouTube site, which everybody, if you're watching this on the Western Section YouTube site, subscribe and hit the bell. If you're watching this on my YouTube site, you need to go to the Western Section YouTube site, and what I'll do is I'll put a link down below to the Western Section YouTube site. Facebook, if you've clicked on it on Facebook, maybe not. I'll put the link on Facebook as well to get to the Western, because we got to drive our membership on YouTube as well. So we're going to have a lot more material in the future. So Christine, we're going to be reaching out to you in the future to do some online programs with our Western Section YouTube channel. So hopefully we'll be seeing more of your face.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go, because I know this is in the middle of your day, and I appreciate you and I appreciate your time, and I know you're a very busy person.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And I do miss our in-person chats, in-person And besides, we're not doing that game with Borgie where we kicked everybody's butt.
I know we did. We won $20 that night, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Now we were the
fun.
noisiest table at that banquet, but
We were.
or was it a breakfast? I think it was a breakfast, right?
I don't remember that part. I was just having so much fun.
I know it was. It was. Now, I was talking to Dan Neeser on his program. We were talking about using Mentimeter and quizzing the audience.
Right.
So I've got to look through his program and come and look at what ideas he has. So you never know. We might be able to do an online. Now we won't be able to hear a noisy table like we were. But who was at the table? It was me, you, Jim Dollard was there.
And I think Joe wasn't he?
Yeah, it was Joe Andre, and I'll tell you who else. Got a call with him. It was Daryl Hill, I think, was at our table. Yep, I think it was Daryl Hill was at our table too. And who else?
It was a good table.
It was. Boy, I tell you. And then what we did, our strategy was, shout out the wrong answer.
Yeah.
So the other tables put the wrong answer in. I had a lot of fun that night. That was absolutely a lot of fun.
Another advantage of IAEI.
Absolutely. You can have fun. We got the R&R Ranch where we learn and we talk and we, chill out, and the food there is great. So we're going to try to bring as much of that to an online experience as we can. So we've got every day is full from 10 o'clock Eastern, 10 to 12, 12:30 to 1:30, 2 to 4, all Eastern times, and then 6 to 8. So there's a lot of opportunity to learn. So nobody can complain.
Yep.
Cool beans. And probably Ryan Jackson will be online, and Steve Froming will be there, and probably other people will be dialing in, answering questions, asking questions, giving us a hard time.
Yep.
So.
And
Awesome.
that's how all of us learned.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. We're even doing the code panel. We got 2 code panels as well, which is interesting. There's going to be Tim McClintock's going to be our moderator. Then we have 4 individuals and 2 sessions of those doing the questions and answers. Which there are probably a lot of people that have not been to a Western section or an IEI meeting and don't understand what the code panel is, and so hopefully they'll get a good taste of that and learn about that and realize, because that's where I learned. I would sit there and
those questions are good questions. They're not the easy answers.
No, and when you think, we were just talking about this, that when you think you got the answer, because I would go there and I would go, oh, I know this is easy, and I would sit there and listen to the person on stage. I'd be like, oh man, I totally missed that.
Yeah. Didn't even think about that.
Yeah, exactly. Opacity. There's a good one, So, but yeah, so we're going to have the whole kit and caboodle. So it should be fun.
Well, just remember, when you've got a wire that's got a 90-degree insulation on it, and you take that insulation away, it's now a naked wire, because when you terminate, you're not terminating the insulation, right?
That's right.
So what's the ampacity temperature of a naked wire? It's based on the termination.
That's right. Yeah. And yeah.
Well, it's based on how you well tested the equipment.
Exactly. And
the maximum amps that they ran through the conductor, or 14 through number 1, less than 100 amps, larger than number 1, more than 100 amps.
Absolutely. And a lot of people don't realize that conductor, that ampacity at 90 degrees C, it can hold that all day long. But the moment you have to adjust it, the reason we're using that 75 degrees C is not because the conductor can't handle it. It's because of the equipment you're landing on and the heat rise in that box. I need to get the heat out of that box, and I'm using that copper conductor to help me get my heat rise test passed in the standards.
Right. And when you're outside of that equipment, now I really want the high heat of a 90 degree. It's going to behave better than THW or TW.
Absolutely. Yep.
And outside side of the enclosure. Now that's when I will have more than 3 conductors.
Yep.
That's when I might be through an attic where I will be more than 36 degrees, 30 degrees C, 86 degrees Fahrenheit.
You know, as education chair for the Western section, I think I know your future presentation. I think we just nailed it. We got your next one up is going to be on Opacity.
Okay.
That sounds like a plan.
We've all done that one.
I know. I tell you what, though, no matter how many times my revelation was I had a question at the Georgia chapter, I think, or the North Carolina chapter, where we had 3 air conditioning units on the roof, fed through a single pipe. So I was on the roof, and then I had to determine the ampacity and determine the equipment grounding conductor size. Because that was the whole controversy of, do I have to increase the equipment grounding conductor size because I increased the size of the other conductors? And I tell you,
we finally answered that. We finally answered that for you.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness. Yeah. Yeah. What code panel are you on?
I happen to be on panel 5, which covers grounding and bonding and the correlating committee and 780.
That's right. Yeah. So you're on those. That's awesome. I forgot you're on the correlating committee as well. So panel 5,
Yep.
grounding and bonding, not a controversial topic whatsoever.
None. It's very simple. It's the green wire or the white wire.
There it is. I love it. And then, you know what? As education chair for the Western section, I see another upcoming presentation from you. Oh, we're just racking them up. I'm writing them down. All right.
Good thing I like yakking my mouth off.
There we go. There we go. Keep talking. I'll keep writing. All right, Christine. Thank you very much. And
Thank you.
David Gray says he knew he was at the wrong table. David Gray was at that meeting. Yeah, you always got to go to the loudest table. You got to love it. All right, Christine, well, I'll let you go. Thank you very much.
Okay.
We're going to stop streaming, so hang on one second. I'm going to hit the stop. So thanks for everybody out there watching. And in the very, very, very beginning of this video, I didn't have our microphones on. So the very beginning, people are going to be going, what's going on? So, but I got it, I think, in time. So, all right, everybody out there, please remember to register for the Western section. Links are down below or to the left or to the right or up above somewhere on one of these, either YouTube or Facebook. Register for Christine's session only if that's what you're interested in. She's going to give 2 CEU hour credits. If you do the entire Western section, 18 CEU credits at the low price of either $200 for non-IEI members, or go get your membership. Give me your code and I'll get you that registration code and you'll save $100 on the whole week. That pretty much almost pays for your IAEI membership. So thank you, and thanks for all those watching. I'm going to stop streaming shortly, and stay safe and stay healthy.